So, you're a Cleveland Browns fan. Just how big of a fan are you? Do you deserve a seat at the Dawgs Table? Well, you're here, aren't you?
The best fans, the most patient fans in the league.
This is the Dawgs Table.
Touchdown, Shabalaba Hub!
If you're obnoxious, opinionated, over the top, and you live for the Browns...
45-40, run, William, run! 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Welcome to your new family, the Dawgs Table, an official Dawgs By Nature podcast on the SB Nation and Vox Media Podcast Network. Let's do this. Welcome to the Dawgs Table. Now your hosts, Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo.
Let's go! Let's go!
What's up, everybody? It is Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo here with the Dawgs Table. How's it going today, Ryan?
It's going good, buddy. Change is in the air.
Change is in the air. The moving pieces are starting to move.
Yep.
So I was wondering when we would start to see moves. We talked a little bit last week about some of the stuff we're going to discuss today. Let's just start right off the rip with the biggest news, and that is the Browns will reportedly move on from John Johnson, which we talked about last week. And it is likely to be a post-June 1st designation.
Yep.
And it'll free up some cap space. And, for those listening or watching that didn't catch last week's episode, how do you feel about this move?
I feel good about it. I think it's the right move. I just don't think he, for whatever reason, just didn't fit. I think there's a little bit of his limitations as a player and our inability to play him up to his strength. But Mary Kay Cabot came out and said that it looks like the Browns have their eyes on replacing him with Jesse Bates, which I'm sure he's going to have many suitors as well. But, I feel good about it. I've been, saying that I think they need to get that center fielder for the defense. So I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Yeah, John Johnson's entering the last year of his contract, and the move is anticipated to be when the league year starts on March 15th. Now, because of the way his contract is, and the cap savings isn't a whole lot if they were to just cut him, right?
Right.
It's maybe $1 million at most. I think it's like 900,000 or something like that. Ballpark. Don't quote me on that, but it's not very much of his 10 million or so dollars. Can you hear me, Ryan, or am I frozen?
I can hear you, but you're frozen. Just a heads up.
Okay. I guess as long as you can hear me. So not a huge cap savings, but if they use the post-June 1st designation, it will basically remove most of that dead cap, and he'll only count $1 million or $2 million against the cap. Now, there is still a chance that the Browns could move John Johnson via trade. So if somebody wants to get ahead of the 8 ball and say, hey, we know John Johnson's going to hit the market, but he's only 27. He's still young. Maybe he fits somebody else's squad better than ours. Maybe they believe in him and they want to get ahead of the 8 ball and not have to compete. Maybe we'll get something in exchange for him. But I think that the biggest thing that we would get is not having to, just cut him. So that makes it a little bit easier. So you mentioned Jesse Bates. Is that the guy that the Browns replace him with?
I don't know. I don't know. I know there's rumors floating around that, Atlanta is planning to go hard after him. But I'm indifferent on Jesse. Like, I know he's 26, so he's a year younger than John Johnson. I know that Cincinnati Bengals fans are kind of 50-50 on him. Some fans swear by him. Some fans say he's not that good. But from whatever route the Browns decide to go, it sounds like from the leaks that are coming out from, Mary Kay Cabot's side and some other beat reporters that the Browns are planning on taking some big swings this offseason. They're planning on making 1 or 2 splashes, whether it's in free agency or trades. So I'm certainly not going to fault them if they go out and, get the best free agent safety on the market. But it'll be interesting if they do spend that much money on the position, what they do elsewhere. Defensive line needs a whole overhaul. So, there's a lot of money that needs to go around, and, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
In some ways, Jesse Bates has been more productive, even though he's a year younger than John Johnson. John
Right.
Johnson has 4 career interceptions. Actually, let me double check that. With the Browns, 4 interceptions in 32 games, 162 tackles. Jesse Bates just last year had 4 interceptions in 16 starts. So, it's he's an intriguing guy to add to this backfield. I think that the biggest thing is that if he's going to cost, I don't know, anywhere from 65 to 85 million over 5 years, it's a pretty big chunk of change. I think I'd rather see them invest in the defensive line personally.
Yeah. Yeah. The interesting factor about this too that a lot of people don't know is that Jesse Bates shares the same agent as Deshaun Watson. So it's there's a connection there, and I just find it really interesting that that's the first kind of name that got linked, but or leaked, I should say. We'll see, but it's definitely a killer defensive backfield if they do land him.
Yeah, and he's kind of on the short list of popular names being thrown around as targets for the Browns. We saw Daron Payne get franchise tagged by Washington, so he's essentially for now out of the mix there, barring something strange happening. And then of course people are really honing in on the possibility of trades for the likes of Hopkins or Cooks. So those are kind of the big names that are floating around. But yeah, and Andrew Berry, they're at the combine, so he spoke with the media, and it's the combine. They're into the draft process, and there was some interesting things that came about. And one of the things, and I've said this before, one of the things that drives me nuts when people talk about the Browns drafting, like when I'm talking to other fans on social media and stuff, is they use the term guardrails, and it's like all these guys put together like this consensus, like set of I don't know, parameters that the Browns are going to draft within. So that's how they try to mock their drafts and things like that. And Andrew Berry was asked about the youth. One of his supposed guardrails is he won't draft somebody older than 23, especially early. And I believe that the oldest person he's drafted in the top 100 is just 22 years old. But when asked about it, he said he doesn't think in terms of age when it comes to guardrails, which I thought was interesting. Do you think that this is do you think he truly doesn't place that much emphasis on age, or do you think he's just shifting his philosophy as the team's situation evolves and what he's doing roster construction wise?
Yeah, I think he probably shifts it. I mean, obviously he has a habit of like you said, getting younger players, whether that's by design or how the board falls, we'll never know. But it's at this point forward, because they're essentially quote unquote all in after paying Deshaun Watson and opening that window up a little bit further. I think that he's probably going to be doing whatever is best for the team moving forward. So I think they're more of in a win now mode than anything.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I mean, certainly age is going to be a factor, but I don't think if there's a guy you really like, I don't think you don't take him because he's 23 as opposed to 22, just because you're in an early round or something like that. Some of it I think is coincidence, but I mean, it's a consideration, but I don't think it's as important as a lot of people make it out to be. Let's see what else is going on. Coaching. So Alex Van Pelt, offensive
Mhm.
coordinator, who many would like to see start calling plays, is going back to his dual role that he had in 2020 and 2021. He is also going to be coaching quarterbacks in addition to being the offensive coordinator once again. So we're starting to see some answers as far as who's going to coach what. And since our last episode, they've also hired their special teams coordinator, Ray Ventrone,
Mhm.
who is also the team's assistant head coach. And they added Bill Musgrave from the Vikings as senior offensive assistant to help Alex Van Pelt while he takes on that dual role. So we're definitely seeing some things. I think Callie got promoted also to assistant wide receivers coach, which is
Very cool.
another move. So lots of moves being made, and things are starting to fall into place to where we can get a clearer picture of what we're looking at for the upcoming season.
Right.
Let's see what else is going on. We got the Hall of Fame game.
Yep.
You talked about this last episode. You called it.
I did.
Browns and Jets.
Yep.
Right in
Which
your
is
backyard.
interesting because they play each other during the season as well.
Yeah. We got a tailgate. It's right in our backyard.
Absolutely.
It's happening.
Joe Thomas, Browns Hall of Fame game. I mean, you can't ask for a better thing for the state, for Browns fans. Yeah.
I think 2 Jets are getting in.
Yeah, Darrell Revis, and I don't remember the other one.
What do you think about all right, so here's another piece of news that came out. What do you think about Jimmy Haslam getting involved in another franchise with the Milwaukee Bucks? He bought 25% of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on this?
Do you want to be completely honest? I don't. I don't know what to think about it. It's Jimmy spreading his wings, I guess. I don't know. Like it's
one of those things. Like, I think if a lot of owners did this, nobody would bat an eye. And
right.
I'm not really, and I don't think you are either. But Jimmy Haslam is a polarizing figure amongst Browns fans, and I can't wait to see what spurs the he's neglecting the Browns for the Bucks conversation.
Well, he's already involved in the Columbus Crew soccer team too, right?
Yeah. So I mean, he's adding more to his sports ownership portfolio, I guess, or whatever you want to call it.
He'll just send a business associate to deal with that stuff. So he'll be all right.
You know, the more we go through the list, I didn't realize we had this much news to go over. We're just gonna do these like quick hitters through the news and have quite a bit of time having elapsed. All right. So a question that's been floating around for quite some time now. The Browns are exploring a new stadium in Cleveland.
Yep.
What would you like to see? You're a season ticket holder.
I am.
Right?
Yep.
I don't go to a ton of games. I'm a little biased because part of the reason I don't go to the games is because I have my 75-inch TV and my comfy couch and
there you go.
Pizza and beer right here. I don't got to get up and leave for, and it's warm at home.
Yep.
I think you know where I'm going with this. A lot of people like the nostalgia of the open air Cleveland Stadium, but there could be a chance that we could be exploring a retractable roof or a dome. What would you like to see? Would you like to see another open air stadium, dome, retractable roof, turf, real grass? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Joe, for those of you listening on the Dawgs By Nature podcast network, one of our viewers just commented, "I want to see a winning roster. Don't care about a stadium." I mean,
yeah,
Ryan, I think, not to cut you off, but I think we would agree with that. But there is some element to the fan experience, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the fan experience is important. Browns fans have been suffering for quite some time now. And, the nostalgia is great, right? I took my son up to a game this last year and, it was snowing and it wasn't super cold, but the wind was there and the snow was swirling and the game was at night. And, I looked over at him and he was like, "This is awesome." And I said, "Well, this is your first full experience as at a Browns game with the weather and everything. It wasn't just a sunny preseason game we went to, but I think it's progress, right? And you kind of have to evolve with the league. And I think that the Browns will have the opportunity to host so much more in the city of Cleveland if they do have a stadium that has a dome and or retractable roof. I'm more on the side of a retractable roof because I think, when it's nice out and they are good weather games, you can open that roof up. When it's cold, it's windy and all that stuff, you can, shut it and have a little bit better of experience. But, it's tough. I would lean towards just moving on with the times, right? I think that we're at a point now that the stadium, was built in 1999, and I would like to see some change. And I've sat there plenty of times and said to myself that, man, this would be an amazing experience if we were in a dome. Or I've gone to other stadiums around the country where they were domed, and I'm just like, man, this is just insane that it's so nice. So I'm not against it in any way, shape, or form. I know a lot of the old heads out there are, and will probably tar and feather me for saying that, but it's it's time to kind of catch up with some of the other people in the league.
Yeah, and I think a retractable roof allows you to kind of get the best of both worlds. Open it up, especially through
Right.
October. If it's
Mhm.
particularly cold or windy, then you close it up. And with a retractable roof allows you to still use real grass. I'm sure
Right.
there's still some challenges there. I'm not that in tune to how all that
Right.
works. I would imagine a dome kind of takes you out of the real grass. Uh, you
Right.
know, situation. I think in Arizona they roll the grass out of the stadium, right?
I believe so. Yes.
The other question is, they don't know if they get a new stadium, if it's going to go in the same area it is now, or if they're going to
Right.
move it outside of the city, which is another interesting thing to contemplate because you can't just stick a stadium anywhere.
Right.
Um, so there are some proposals saying, you know, maybe right outside the city in the suburbs. Um, so that'll be an interesting thing too. Phil Dawson
Yeah.
had some interesting things to say. He's like, good luck putting a roof on this thing that can handle the snow and putting
Right.
sides on this thing that can handle the wind,
Oh, come on now.
so yeah.
Things that they can do with architecture nowadays. I think that's a little over exaggerated on Phil's part. I love Phil, but I think that the hardest part of it would for the fans, I think, to get over if they did go a new stadium route would be if it was moved from the lake. I think that's just part of that aura that you have when you go down to the game. You're on the lake, the water's there, the seagulls are all over the place, and boats, and that part of it's really cool, especially when it's great weather outside. But the lake is really brutal when it's cold. So it's like I said, I think that would be the hardest part that for fans to get over is if they did take it from the lake and put it somewhere maybe right outside the city or something else. But I really don't care. I mean, listen, it attracts things for the city. It attracts things, economically for the city. And, you could get a possible college football playoff game or a Super Bowl down the line, or, there's just so much that you can do there. So I think it's a great thing for the city, and it would be a great thing for the team too.
Yep, absolutely. So that'll be something that'll take a couple years to shake out, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
um More Browns news. They are reportedly going to unveil a new alternate helmet this year.
Yep.
I know you guys, we want a winning football team. Who cares what helmet they're wearing? But it's supposedly going to be different. There's some speculation that really the only direction you can go with this is white, something to do with white. So, that'll be interesting as well. All right. So, what else we got? Anything you want to bring to the table, Ryan?
No, I mean, honestly, I think we've covered quite a bit of stuff in a
You got
quick
me
period of time
excited
here.
when you tweeted that video of Kenny McIntosh today.
Yes, yes. I did see that. I think it was at the Senior Bowl. He was working in pass protection, and I think was it Jim Nagy that was the original tweet.
Yeah, and it was a one-on-one drill for pass
Yeah,
pro for running backs, and
yeah,
it's an important drill that they look
yep,
for, and it was flawless. And this guy, man,
yep. Very
uh,
nice.
get used to me talking about him if you haven't already.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I had to tag you in that. I was like, "Oh, look at your boy go." He
Yeah,
he looked really good in the drill though.
speaking of my other boy, um, a potential Browns free agent target, a wide receiver, a guy that I would like to see them take a flyer on, went through groin repair surgery. So Mecole Hardman,
Mm,
there's a nice write up by uh, Jared Mueller on
yep.
dogsbynature.com. You can check it out. He's a high risk, or low risk, high reward free agent wide receiver, which I think is definitely somebody that we could look into. Um,
Oh, I knew one thing we forgot. They're bringing back Jakeem Grant.
yes, absolutely. They restructured his. Okay, I got to be careful how we say this because we're talking a lot about restructuring lately. They didn't restructure;
Yeah.
they renegotiated. It's a whole
Yes.
new contract. It wasn't a matter
Right.
of moving money to sign his signing bonus, but
Yeah.
yeah, he took a pay cut to stick around. So
That's
hopefully
awesome.
he heals up nicely.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I was really excited for his addition last year. I think he'll be great on special teams, as like you said, as long as he heals up in the way that he should. But I think he's a great person from all the things I've seen around the league, and I was really excited to see him play last year. So I was really bummed to see him get hurt, and I would love to see him on the field next year.
He's a phenomenal return guy, and
He
yeah, I
is.
mean he had big hype last year, and the challenge is with you know what was it, Achilles, coming back
Right.
at 31 years old from an Achilles is
Right.
not an easy thing to do. So
Right.
hopefully he heals up nicely and he can return to form.
Yep.
Um, but
For sure.
and they're definitely hoping to keep it that way. Let's see, what was it that they renegotiated it to?
It's like a
Um,
1.7 or something like that, I think.
yeah, so they reduced it to 1.76. And I mean they cut a salary in half essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they talked to the staff about Cade York. They don't anticipate bringing somebody in to compete with him. They seem to be comfortable with what he's offering, so they covered that a little bit too. Um, yeah,
It's silly season, baby. I mean, we're right around the corner from uh, everything. Combine's going on or getting started right now. It's starting to ramp up, and we're gonna have free agency. And I'm super excited, man. I really, I was telling you before the show started, I really think that this front office has a few big splashes up their sleeve. And it kind of goes with just the things that are coming out recently with Mary Kay Cabot saying that they're looking at Jesse Bates and that Andrew Berry's planning on making one or two splashes this offseason. It's I'm very excited to see what this team looks like next year, and I'm really hoping that they are very smart about their roster construction because they left the defensive tackle position pretty much unattended last year, and it really bit them throughout the season. So I'm hoping that he learned his lesson on that, and by bringing in Jim Schwartz, I think it's going to make a difference.
yeah, and we're starting to get some hints too, right? So Deron
Yep.
Payne, we mentioned earlier, was franchise tagged, and Mary Kay
Yep.
Cabot of Cleveland.com, who's well informed when it comes to a lot of the stuff going on behind the scenes. She commented that he was reportedly going to be on the Browns' radar, which
Hmm.
means it looks like they are ready to not just address the defensive tackle position, but they're willing to spend money if it's the right move.
Yep.
So
Yep.
he was going to be an expensive acquisition if that was something that was going to happen. So,
Right.
you know, this will all start to take shape in free agency, and I think we'll
Yep.
we'll see a ton of moves in free agency. I don't necessarily think they'll be splashy, but Andrew Berry does not like to go into the draft with needs.
Right.
He doesn't want to force picks for needs.
Right.
So,
I wouldn't be
um,
surprised if the splashes come via trade, to be honest with you. I'd say that, there's a couple positions that could be upgraded that way, like, wide receiver, things like that. But it's I fully anticipate the Browns doing enough restructuring over the next, however long to be right up there at the top of the league with available cap space this year. So, if you're out there wondering where we're going to get the money and all that good stuff, don't worry about it, Browns fans. The cap is a myth. It's going to get changed. So,
all right, that is it for today. Stick around if you're watching for the overtime show. For those of you listening on the Dawgs By Nature podcast network, we will be back next week. This is Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo with the Dawgs Table. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of our news and notes from around the league. And make sure that if you want to tune in and interact with the show, you can join us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter on our Dawgs Table social media channel pages. And you can watch the show live and even interact with us through the comments. So until next time, go Browns.
Go Browns.
All right, you guys in the comments, what do we got? You guys got any questions or anything you guys want to talk about?
Dude, you got to unfreeze yourself. It's throwing me off.
Have I been frozen like this whole time?
The entire time for me, you've been frozen. Like I've had like 2 seconds of your movement, and that's about it.
Jeez. Am I frozen for everybody else too?
Jesus. Why did all these just pop in?
What's that?
Oh, I just got a bunch of comments that just popped in on me that weren't there before.
Maybe it's not me. Maybe it's you. All right. So there is a link in the comments if you're on YouTube or Facebook. They look just like this. They say StreamYard. If you want to jump in the show, you can talk with us face to face. We'll be on here for a few more minutes or until you guys are done talking. If you have any questions or anything you want to address, you guys are more than welcome to put it in the comments, and we can talk about it. Carson Wentz got cut.
He did.
Mariota got cut.
Yep.
Lots of QB movement again, looks like.
Yep. Yeah, I'll be does it feel like this is the end for Carson?
It's got to, right?
Yeah, it just feels like it, man.
I mean, he's the kind of guy that will Derek Anderson through the rest of his career, probably. He could be around for another 10 years. You just may not see him featured.
Right.
Let's see.
Agreed.
Any new names on your radar for free agency or the draft?
No, I have to admit I'm not 100% dug in on that yet. I've been reading a lot of the stuff about the combine this year, and looking at a lot of things about our late picks. But free agency, I mean, I obviously have people I would love to get, but I think we have a show planned for that. We're gonna really hit on some targets that I think would be key for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not sure what's going to be going on with the show. I kind of alluded to maybe some changes last week. I don't remember how deep I got into it, but we're unsure of whether or not we're going to be part of the Dawgs By Nature podcast network moving forward. The Vox Media, the parent company for SB Nation, laid off virtually all of their podcasters, right. And either they forgot about us or they're letting us keep going. We haven't found out yet. So, it's unknown what we're going to be doing. Worst case scenario, we're just going to stick around and we can go back to being independent or, whatever. Yep. But hopefully we'll be with Dawgs By Nature for the long haul. We'll see what happens.
I mean, we haven't got kicked out yet. So, we must be doing something right. We haven't got the axe yet.
Or like I said, they might have forgotten about us. Who knows?
It's okay. I'll take it. It's okay.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing any questions or comments or anything. So we'll go ahead and cut this episode. Tune back in next Tuesday at 9:00. Hopefully we'll have plenty more news to talk about. This is Craig Fountain and Ryan Angelo with the Dawgs Table. And we'll see you next week.
Go Browns.